So this is an example we have seen in the last class. So for a priori algorithm, we have started with this example. We have set a minimum support threshold as 60%, a minimum confidence as 80%. And our aim is we will be finding the frequent item set and then association rules by using a priori algorithm and then FB growth algorithm. So both we are going to see now. Only for the first step, only for finding the frequent item set, we can use either a priori or otherwise FB growth. But finding the association rule is same in both the cases. So one function is used for finding the association rule in Python. We will see that. But for a priori, one separate function, for FB growth, another function. So we are going to see this now. So first, we are going to start with the a priori algorithm. So this I'm going to run in Google Colab. So in this, first, I'm going to create a database of all the transactions. If you see here, we have seen the example as this one, monkey, donkey, make, monkey, cookie, and other things. So in actual database, this is the first letter of all the items. This is the actual database. In monkey, M stands for milk, O stands for onion, N stands for nutmeg, and so on. Okay, so this is the data set. If you see how this is created, it is simply from this particular slide, nothing else. So I have taken this slide. Okay, so whatever is the transaction here, if you consider T100, it is having totally 6 elements. All the 6 elements are written as a list. Okay, we have a list of list. So I have a 2D list here. Then the second transaction contains donkey, that is 6 elements. So if you consider this, we have 6 elements. This is for the second transaction. Then the third one is for the third transaction. It contains make, M-A-K-E, milk, apple, and so on. This is for the fourth transaction, and then this is for the fifth transaction. So whatever transactions are given to you, you are going to create a data set containing all the transactions. Here I have created a 2D list. Even you can create a CSV file and you can export that file and you can do the analysis. So now for simplicity, I have created a 2D list. Now I'm going to use first a priori algorithm. So in the a priori algorithm, when you want to start the built-in function for a priori, you have to convert this information. Your data set should be converted into one hot encoded pandas data frame. Then only that particular function will work. So our aim is now we are going to convert this data set into one hot encoded pandas data frame. So for that, we are going to import pandas. Then we are going to import necessary libraries. So in this, to support the a priori algorithm and then FB growth algorithm, we have a Python library which contains so many useful tools, and that library is ML extend. So it is machine learning extensions. So we are going to make use of this Python library which supports both a priori as well as FB growth algorithm. So let us see the steps one by one. So first I'm going to import pandas as PD. After that, I want to do now one hot encoding. So for that, I need to import transaction encoder. Okay, so this transaction encoder is available in this ML extend. In that, in pre-processing module, it is available. So we are going to import. So I'm going to write from ML extend dot pre-processing import transaction encoder. Actually, this is a package. From this, you can import this necessary things you want. And once I import, I'm going to write my code for converting this into one hot encoded pandas data frame. So I need to convert my data set now. So for that, I'm going to create an object for transaction encoder, whichever I have imported here. And the object name is TE. Then I'm going to pass my data set. And with the help of this particular function, I'm going to convert that into one hot encoding data frame. For that, I need to call the fit function. So with this object TE, I'm going to call the fit function. So you know object-oriented concept. With the help of the object only, you're going to call all the methods, object name dot method name. So I'm going to call now TE.fit. To this fit function, I have to pass my data set. If you consider your data set that is available in the object data set, so you pass that object. And once you do that, you need to transform it. So call now transform again by passing the data set. Now it will convert your information and your final answer will be available. You store that answer in another object. Here it is given as TE underscore ARY. Then I am printing this object so that you will understand what is the output here. You will understand what is one hot encoding. So what is one hot encoding here is if you consider your transaction, it contains many items. And when we started our a priori algorithm, in the first table, we have listed all the unique items. Unique item is nothing but milk is one unique item, then onion, second unique item, nutmeg, kidney beans, and so on. There are so many unique items available. So in one-hot encoding, it will create so many number of columns. Here, if you consider the number of columns, in the first row, I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 columns. In the second, here I have 2 columns. So totally there are 11 columns. So what is the meaning of 11 columns? I have 11 unique entries or unique items in my transaction database. So you will have 11 columns. And when you consider the first column, you have something like false, false, then true, and so on. So what is the meaning of this? So if I have false for a particular entry, it means that that item is not present in the transaction. If it is true, it means the item is present in the transaction. So this is called as one-hot encoding. So in one-hot encoding, it will create as many number of columns as that of the unique entries. Since we have 11 unique entries in the item set, we have 11 columns. And if you consider the first transaction, if a particular item is present, it will be written as true. If it is not present, it will be written as false. So now it is very difficult for us to interpret. So we are going to display the information in some other format. First, let us convert this into Pandas data frame, because then only you can give data into the a priori algorithm. So I'm going to convert this into Pandas data frame. For that, I need to call pd.dataframe. I need to pass this one-hot encoded information I have created. That is nothing but te_array. I'm passing that. Then I'm creating a data frame object df. When I list this data frame object df, you will get some information like this. So what is the meaning of 0 to 4? It's nothing but it will tell you how many transactions you have in your data set. If you consider your data set or database, totally we have 5 transactions. So I am getting totally 5 rows here, 1 row for 1 transaction. Then the columns is going to give you about a unique entry. So totally I told you there are 11 unique entries. So you will have 11 columns starting from 0 index till the index 10. So 11 columns are there. Now, still we are confused. We don't know what is 0, what is 1, and so on. Instead of displaying the index 0, 1, 2, etc., if I display the actual column name, it will be easy for me to interpret the values. So for that, we are going to display the actual column name instead of the index. For that, in the same function, in this function, when you convert that into data frame, you can set something called as columns is equal to ce_columns_columns. If you do that, if you set this particular attribute, then whatever is a column name, that will be displayed as such, so that we can easily interpret the data. Now, when you see this one, in the 0th transaction, that is nothing but transaction number 1. In that, apple is not present. Okay, when there is false in a particular column, it means that item is not present. Apple is not present, corn is not present, dill is not present, eggs are present, ice cream not present, kidney beans present, milk present, nutmeg present, onion present, unicorn absent, and true yogurt present. Whenever there is true, it means that item is present. Okay, if you check wherever you have true, you will get the letters monkey, M-O-N-K-E-Y. Okay, similarly for all the transaction, it is printed. This is called as one-hot encoding. So in one-hot encoding, you will be creating number of columns which is equal to number of unique items. And if a particular item is present, we are going to write that as true. If an item is absent in that transaction, we are going to write it as false. So now we are going to see the a priori algorithm. So our a priori algorithm is defined in MLExtend. So we are going to import it. So from MLExtend.frequent_patterns, I'm going to import a priori. After that, I'm going to call the algorithm, that is the function a priori. For this function, we are going to pass the necessary arguments. So the first argument you have to pass for this function is, where is your data set available? Now my data set is available in the one-hot encoded format in the data frame df. This only we have created in this step df. So that you have to pass as the argument. So I'm passing df as one of the argument. And this a priori algorithm next accept another argument that is nothing but minimum support. So you have to give the minimum support now. According to our example, our minimum support is 60%. So I'm giving now 0.6. After that, use underscore call names. I'm setting this as true. Let me remove this. so that you will understand why I'm going to set this. Now let me run. Here, if you see, I am running this by passing only the data frame and then minimum support as 0.6. It will return me all the frequent item sets. Whatever we have generated in the example, that will be returned to you. You just display them by calling frequent underscore item set. I'm displaying this. So it is showing me something. I can't understand anything from this. It is actually displaying the frequent item set. Whatever we have derived in the algorithm, that is displayed. But we are not able to understand anything because it is displaying me the index as 3, 5, 6, and so on. I don't know what is the exact item. So I want the item instead of the index. For that only, I have given this. So now let me comment this. Let me do this one. So when I do this now, here what I have given is use underscore call names is set as 1. It means that whatever is the column name for your data set, like here, if you consider the column names are apple, corn, dill, etc. So all these column names will be displayed instead of the index. So that is easy for us to understand. So we are going to set this. So I am calling a priori by passing 3 arguments. One is the data frame, second is the minimum support, third one is I'm going to display the column names instead of the index. For that I'm setting this as true. It will be converting and the algorithm will run. Then finally you will get the answer, which is nothing but frequent item sets in your database according to the minimum support 60%. So you display that. If I display frequent underscore item set, I am getting these things. So what is this? How many items I am getting? When you remember in the previous example, we have seen that when we run the example, we got totally 11 frequent item sets. Let me show that so that you will understand. So for both algorithms, the output is same. I'll take the FP growth algorithm. So here we constructed the frequent item set at the end. Totally 11 items are there in the frequent item set. So if you consider in one item, we have 5 items totally. Then in 2 items, we have 5 items total. Then in 3 items, we have 1. You remember the 3 items so that you can check it. KEO, 3 letters are present in the 3 item. Now let us check the output here. Totally 11 items are present, 0 to 10. And in that, if you consider one item set, we have 5 one item sets, eggs, kidney beans, milk, onion, yogurt. That is nothing but EKMOY. Then if you consider 2 item sets, we have eggs, kidney beans. That is nothing but EK. Then we have EO. Then we have MK, OM, OK, and then YK. And if you consider 3 item sets, we have egg, onion, and then kidney beans. So totally, we have displayed 11 items. So this is nothing but the output of the a priori algorithm, which is generating 11 frequent item sets. So now the first part of the algorithm is over. Our second part is we have to generate the association rules. So association rules are nothing but the rules of the form A implies B. It means that when I buy item A, what is the probability that I will also buy item B in my transaction? So you have to generate the association rules. And for generating association rules, again, in the ML package, ML extend, you have frequent underscore patterns. In that, we have module called association underscore rules. You can import it. So I am writing now from ML extend.frequent underscore patterns, import association underscore rules. When I do that, all the necessary packages will be imported. Now I'm going to derive my rules. So for deriving my rules, I have to pass my frequent item set. If you consider, first we have generated the frequent item set that should be given as input to the association rule algorithm. So if you consider the input, it is not data frame DF. Instead, whatever you have generated in the previous step. Here, we have the output of the a priori algorithm is stored in frequent underscore item set. That should be given as input. So I'm giving that as the input. So accordingly, it will generate all the association rules. And remember, for the association rules, you have to set the confidence. So for the confidence, there is a minimum threshold. In our example, it is given as 80%. So I am going to now set the minimum threshold for the confidence as 80%. So I have to give the metrics as confidence because this minimum threshold is for the confidence. So set now metric is equal to confidence. And then set the minimum threshold for this as 80%, that is 0.8. And once you do that, you can call this algorithm, you can call this function. It will generate all the association rules and it will return that rule to you. You store it in a data frame. So this rules is a data frame which will store all the answer. You can display the data frame now. And when you run, you will get all these things. If you see, all are not important to us. We will focus on certain things. You consider this, there are totally 0 to 8, that is totally 9 association rules are there. But if you consider our a priori example, what we have seen in the class, I'll show you that first. Then we will come here so that you will understand. So when we check the association rule, actually, we started with the frequent item set that is given as input to the association rule. Then we set the minimum confidence threshold. Finally, we came up with the rules. And in this algorithm, we have seen that only 3 rules are there. First rule is KO implies E, then EO implies K, then O implies EK. Only 3 rules are there. But this should be displayed to you. Now, if you see your output, totally we have 9 rules. Where are these 3 rules? Let me keep it here so that you can see the output. If you see this, focus on the last 3 rows in this. The first rule here is onion X implies kidney beans. So that is here. The second one, onion X implies K. And if you consider the 7th one, onion kidney beans implies X. So that is here. Onion kidney beans implies X, the first row. And if you consider the last one, onion implies X kidney beans, that is here. O implies EK. Okay, so these are all the rules we have derived in our algorithm. But here, in addition to those 3 rules, it is displaying them correctly. In addition to those 3 rules, it is also displaying some other information. So what is this information is, we didn't consider the 1-to-1 mapping. So whichever 1-to-1 mapping is satisfying this information, that is also displayed. When we consider this, I told that if you have totally 3 items, if you write 2 items in the left-hand side, the remaining 1 item will appear in the right-hand side. So we proceeded like that. Here it is displaying that in addition, if you have 1-to-1 mapping, that is 1 item here, 1 item in the right-hand side. So the 3rd item will not be present. So that is also listed in addition to our actual strong rules. Okay, it is not wrong, it is correct. This is the actual output we want in our algorithm. In addition, it is displaying this type of relation also. Okay. So in the algorithm, in the 3 rules, we have the confidence as 100%. We have derived that in our algorithm. Now let us check whether we are getting the same confidence when we run the program also. If you consider the last 3 rows correspond to the item in our program, if you consider this column confidence, there are so many columns, don't worry about that. You consider the column confidence. If you see the confidence here, it is 1.0. That means that 100% confidence. So this is the association rule you can generate with the help of this function. If you consider the FP growth algorithm, this algorithm I am running in Anaconda. I am importing now again the ML extend package only. In that only this algorithm is also present. So when you run, if you don't have any package, you know how to install it by means of pip install. You can install any package, whatever you want. So here I want ML extend. So I'm installing that. In that I have frequent underscore patterns. In that only this FP growth is also there. So I'm importing that. Then association rules I want later in my algorithm. So I'm importing that also. So I have imported 2 things now, FP growth and then association rules. Both are available in ML extend. Now I'm considering the same data set. Now, first I'm converting that into one-hot encoded format because even the FP growth algorithm need your information in one-hot encoded data frame. So we are converting that. Up to this, it is similar. So only this part is different now. We are going to call the FP growth algorithm. So now I'll show here. So I'm going to call the FP growth algorithm. So in this, again, we have to pass 3 arguments. The first argument is the data frame which contains your data. Second, specify the minimum support. Third, if you want to see the column names instead of the index, specify, use underscore call names as true. Now it will return you a data frame, store it, and then displaying it. I'm getting the output. If you consider it is same as a priori algorithm, so totally 11 entries are there, 11 frequent item sets are there. Okay, so the output of FP growth algorithm is same as a priori. And then association rule, same thing. Whatever I have done in the last example, the same thing I'm doing here. I'm setting the metric as confidence, and I'm going to set the minimum threshold only for this confidence. It is set as 80%. Again, we are getting the similar rules. Now comes the important thing. When I teach you the FP growth algorithm, I told you that In case of a priori algorithm, we are going to do so many scans in the database that is going to increase our time. So our aim is we want to reduce the number of scans. For that only, we went for the FP growth algorithm. Now you can check the running time of these two algorithms, and you can find that FP growth algorithm will run very fast when compared to a priori algorithm. So for that, I'm going to use a magic function. In Python, you might have studied this one, time it. This is a magic function with the help of which you can find out what is the execution time of a particular step or otherwise particular function or a program. So that is possible with the help of this function. So I'm going to use that now. So first I'm going to find out how much time is taken by a priori algorithm for running for this particular data set. So I'm going to call a priori. I need to pass df, the data frame. Then I'm setting the minimum support as 0.6. It will call the algorithm. My algorithm will run. I want to find out how much time this algorithm will take to run on a particular data set, which is nothing but df. So for that, I'm calling the magic function. So for that, I'm specifying %time it. When I run this step, I'm getting this as the execution time, 10.2 milliseconds. Now, I want to find out what is the time taken by FP growth algorithm for the same set of data. So now, instead of a priori, I am calling FP growth algorithm with the same input, df, min underscore support as 0.6. I want to find the running time again. So I'm calling %time it. Now, if you consider this time, it is now 3.44 milliseconds. So if you consider both are working on the same input, but my a priori algorithm is taking 10.2 millisecond, whereas FP growth algorithm is taking 3.44 milliseconds. So it is better when compared to a priori. So whenever you want to save time, you can go for FP growth, but the disadvantage in FP growth is you have to consider the construction of the tree. That is a little bit complicated when compared to a priori algorithm.